But before we begin the main part of our discussion, I think if you have read the third and the fourth book of Crystal Boys, you might started to feel that a very important message that Bai Xinyong want to express is reconciliation. I think maybe Juicy, you have got a point because you pointed out in your presentation that the father-son relationship is a big part of this novel, and especially in book 3 and book 4, right? Yeah, I think this is a very important message. So the background message, the background knowledge for this kind of the problem of reconciliation is that we know that General Bai Zongxi died in 1966, and 11 years after his death, his son Bai Xinyong tried to make peace with his father by writing a novel named Crystal Boys in 1977. Okay, so I think this is a very important understanding before we discuss this novel. And what is, of course, for my own part, because I did not make a very detailed survey about this issue, so I'm not able to tell you that General Bai Zongxi's attitude toward Bai Xianyong's homosexuality. So this is something maybe I can do it after today. But let's just say it this way. Maybe this is a chance for Bai Xianyong to make peace with his deceased father by writing this novel. Okay, so in this novel, we can see that the reconciliation is not between, it's not necessarily between two living people, two living persons. It might be between one living person and the other deceased person. So I think this is a very important understanding. So let's try to analyze the stories covered in book 3 and book 4 this way. So the most important message that we have to understand is this, the reconciliation between fathers and sons. Okay, so in this book we have a main part of this part, a main story of this part of the novel is that we know that Qing moved into Papa Fu's house, and we know that because Papa Fu is very old and he had a problem of a heart attack, so finally he died. Okay, so in so far as this is concerned, we know that maybe Qing, his role is in this book 3 and book 4 is quite functional because he is the bridge between Papa Fu and Wang Kuirong. It is only through Qing that Wang Kuirong was able to get together and discuss his father-son issue with Papa Fu, right? Because his father Wang Shangde was no longer alive, right? So he had to find someone who knew his father before his father died, and to discuss this problem with him. Okay, so in this aspect, Qing is a very functional. He's a connection between Papa Fu and Wang Kuirong. Okay. So the most important, because we know that in this story there are a lot of father-son relationship, right? Including little J and his father, his biological father, not the guy. He always say that he's from Shandong, right? And not his stepfather. And also we see Chief Yang also have a father-son relation issue with his own father, and Wu Ming also has a father-son issue, but that is not the issue because his father was in prison, and after he was in prison, he go back to the society, and Wu Ming try to take care of his father. Okay, so this is quite different from other father-son issues. But I think the most important father-son contrast in this part of the novel is these three pairs. The first one is Qing and his father. And the second one is Wang Kuirong and Wang Shangde, a very high-ranking general of the KMT government. Because we know that after he died, the country held a state funeral for him. But it's very regretful for Wang Kuirong that he was not able to go back to Taiwan before his father's death. And he was not able to see his father for the last time. Okay, so this is something that he regretted a lot in this novel. And the third pair is Fu Wei and Papa Fu. Fu Wei is a very young lieutenant in army, and he's also a homosexual. Okay, so in the first pair we see, so in book one, we at first we see that Qing was expelled from school and from home. Expelled from school by the principal and from home by his father. Okay, and his father is a discharged brigade commander from Sichuan. And we know that maybe brigade commander is some kind of middle rank KMT army officer. And of course, we know that his father might have fought very bravely in the second civil war in China, Chinese Civil War. Okay, so this is the background of Qing and his father. And after Qing was expelled from the school, his father also expelled him from the home. And we're going to see the way Qing tried to start a reconciliation with his father. And the second pair is Wang Kuirong and Wang Shangde. This is a more embarrassing pair of father-son relationship, because we know Wang Shangde is a very famous and high-ranking general. So when his son, maybe his only son, when his son was involved in the murder case, it became very sensational in Taipei, and many people knew about it. So Wang Shangde had no other chance but to expel his own son from Taipei and Taiwan and send him to use a false passport to send him to New York, and left him there living alone for 10 years. And he suffered a lot from his living alone in New York, his life experience of living alone in New York. Okay, and Fu Wei and Papa Fu. We know that Fu Wei is the character appeared in this part of the novel, and we know Fu Wei is a very young and promising army officer, and before he died, he's only 25 years old. Okay. And how did he die? Because we know he was found lying naked with a soldier on bed in the troop, right? So before he was sent to the military court, he tried to make a phone call to his father, Papa Fu, but Papa Fu refused to answer the phone call. Okay, that might be the last straw that hit Fu Wei. So he decided to commit suicide. So he died in a very young age. Okay, so this is we see two deceased people and the 4 living people in this three pairs of father-son relationship. Okay, so the question to be asked in this part of the novel is how is it possible to make peace with the dead? Okay, so last time we have talked about the surrogate father and the surrogate sons, right? So in a sense, Qing is the surrogate son of Papa Fu, and Papa Fu, of course, he's the surrogate father of Qing. But in this pair is quite functional. This pair of a surrogate father and son relation is functional because we know Qing is responsible for taking care of Papa Fu, and Papa Fu try to make peace with Wang Kuirong through the introduction of Qing. right? Okay, so this is the first pair. And the second pair is Wang Kuilong and Papa Fu. This is more important one because we know that maybe we can say that Wai Xiangyong tried to compare himself with Wang Kuilong and try to compare himself with Wang Shang. Try to compare his father with Wang Shangde. So this is the relationship between a general and his son. But since the father is deceased and deceased in Bai Xiong's case, deceased for more than 10 years, but in Wang Kuilong's case, deceased maybe more than days and months, right? Okay, so the only way that he can make peace with his deceased father is try to find someone who knew the last days of his father. How did his father live his last days, and did he leave any words behind to convey to Wang Kuilong, right? Okay, so this is we see the dialogues between Wang Kuilong and Papa Fu, and that is quite important. So later on, we are going to review the dialogue between Wang Kuilong and Papa Fu. Okay, and the third is the Papa Fu and Wang Kuilong. So it is quite different because in Papa Fu, Wang Kuilong see him as a surrogate father. So in Wang Kuilong, Papa Fu see him as the surrogate son. Maybe this is a way, because Fu Wei was no longer possible to start a dialogue with Papa Fu. So maybe he's just trying to treat Wang Kuilong as his own son and say what he was supposed to say to Fu Wei, right? Okay, so this is three pairs of father-son relationship which are very important in this part of the novel. Okay, but before the discussion, we can flash back to a scene in last week. Okay, that is in book one, in book 2 of Crystal Boys. After Qing's mother died, she asked that she wanted Qing to send his remains back to their home, right? So Qing had to take the remains of his mother back to home. So when he arrived at home, his father was not there. So he started a self-reflection at home. Okay, so let me read this. He said that I was his means the father's. His final hope as he entered, he's trying to fit in. He's trying to fit himself into his father's shoes. Try to think it over. Think it over from his father's perspective. So it's very important that he has to understand his father's situation. Okay, and it's very important that the situation is not only personal, it's also historical, because it's a universal question to ask during that period. Because we know after KMT government brought all these mainlanders to Taiwan in 1949, maybe we can say that those mainlanders were just 20 or 30 years old, in their 20s and 30s. And after 21 years in 1970, we know the story of this novel started in 1970. They were 60s, in their 60s or 50s, right? So they started to feel that their own life had no hope. So they started to put their hope on their own sons. Okay, so this is the way of thinking of these mainlanders, these first generation post-war Taiwan mainlanders in 1970s. Okay, so I was his final hope as he entered his twilight years, because they started to aware of that the possibility that Taiwan was no longer to fight back to mainland China, and they had to die on the island, which is now their hometown, right? Okay, so he entered his twilight years. It was his lifelong dream that one day I'd become a respected officer and vindicate him, wash away the shame of his being captured by the enemy and discharged from the army. Okay, so originally the father was planning to send Qing to the military college in Kaohsiung. Okay, so but this plan vaporized after the scandal. Okay, so when I was expelled from school in disgrace, this dream went up in smoke. It's not hard to appreciate the anger and the resentment that must have filled his heart. So after living outside the family for several months, I think Qing is calm enough to think about this. Maybe this is not his fault, but it is not also this is neither his father's fault, right? Okay, so it's not hard to appreciate the anger and resentment that must have filled his heart. Occasionally, I wonder if he still held out a thread of hope that I might reject my sinful past and come home to start anew. I don't think it's possible. I had to get out of there before father came home so I wouldn't run into him. But before I left, I went over to the room Buddy and I had shared and walked around for a moment. This passage is very important because we know that maybe his inference is right because maybe Qing's father still had a final thread of hope because he did not move Qing's belongings. He just left those things in his room. Buddy's bed was gone, leaving only a single bamboo cot in the room. My straw mat and the pillow was still there. My school uniform, my clothes, my shoes and socks were all folded neatly on the pillow. Even my school supplies were untouched. Okay, so you can say that maybe he's just too painful to move those things away, and you can say that maybe the father is still had some kind of hope for Qing to come back home and maybe get rid of his homosexual nature and try to be an ordinary people like other boys. But I don't think it's possible. Okay, and this is a very important dialogue between Papa Fu and the Dragon Prince. It's reported by Qing in Book 3. Because we know after returning to Taiwan, Wang Kuirong still cared very much about whether his father had left some words about him before his death. Okay, so this is a moment of finding the answer for Wang Kuirong because he through the introduction of Qing, he knew the whereabouts of Papa Fu because Papa Fu and Wang Shangde went back a long way before went to Taiwan. Okay, I know this is Wang Kuirong. This is the sentence said by Wang Kuirong. He said that I know he wouldn't mention my name. His feelings for me had died. Wang Kuirong shook his head spiritedly. Kuirong, you are taking it all out on your father. But so this is Papa Fu from the perspective of father, and a father, not only a father, but a father with a son who is also homosexual, and his son died from committing suicide. But I wonder if you've ever thought about how much he suffered on your account. He was getting angry. Okay, of course I have. So this we can sense that this is like a fight between a father and a son, but they are not actually father and a son. Okay, this is from Papa Fu. He said that's easy to say. Papa Fu said loudly with a quiver in his voice, because we know that he has a problem of heartache. So it's very hard for him to speak loud. So he quivered. He had a quiver in his voice. You all think you can pay your fathers back for the pain you caused him, don't you? Because before this sentence, Wang Kuirong told Papa Fu that the reason why that Wang Kuirong want to go back to Taiwan so badly is that he thought that there might be a chance for him to pay back his father. He also knew that is very harmful for his father, because he had done a very scandalous thing in Taiwan. So he want to pay back for his father. Okay, so you are right, Kuilong. Your father never mentioned you to me, but I know he suffered as much as you did. So I think this is quite right, because as fathers, sometimes you don't, especially conservative and the traditional fathers of the Chinese society, sometimes they don't want to say things very directly. They try to hide their feelings, and they try to hide their own personal opinions. Okay, so but Papa Fu tried to think about Wang Shangde's thinking from a perspective of father. Okay, I know that a lot of bad things happened to you during your years out of the country, but do you really think you were the only one? Because we know that in book 1 and book 2, Wang Huirong said that in New York, he almost died from being attacked by the wanderers in New York Park, not New York Park, Central Park in New York, right? And he was also sent to a institution which took in the patient with mental problems, right? Okay, so your father was here sharing your load. No matter how great your agony, he was greater. Okay, but Wang Huirong said that he couldn't bear to see you. Oh no, it's not Wang Huirong. It's a Papa Fu. He couldn't bear to see you. Not even his eyes were closed. Okay, so after this dialogue was over, Papa Fu started to say his own story about himself and Fu Wei to Qing. So we know that it makes sense. After this dialogue, we know that Papa Fu was able to understand what Wang Shangde was thinking about before his death, because he himself has a son who is a homosexual like Wang Shangde. Okay, so this is a very important dialogue and episode in book 3. After reading the whole of this novel, we can start to construct a chronicle of Crystal Boys, because it's not only about the things happened in the earliest part of the 1970s. It's not only events. The novel did not only cover the events happened in 1970 and 1971. We know that many things happened before this. So after reading the whole of this novel, we can know the chronicle of Crystal Boys is like this. In 1958, that is the 47th year of the Republic of China, Fu Wei committed suicide, and we know that the Phoenix boy was taken in by Grandpa Kuo. Grandpa Kuo is a very helpful figure in the gay community in New Park. He usually took care of those homosexual boys. And in 1960, 2 years after 1958, Phoenix boy stayed with Papa Fu for one night before killed by Dragon Prince. Because after that night, Dragon Prince killed Phoenix boy. And Dragon Prince fled to New York after the murder. And we also know that Qing's mother left home, because we know that in 1970, Qing's mother had left home for 10 years. Okay, and many things happened during this period from April to May in 1970s. In 1970, Buddy, the brother of Qing, died from pneumonia, and Qing was taken in by Grandpa Guo after being expelled from both school and home. So his first place of lodging is the studio owned by Grandpa Guo. And in August 1970, Dragon Prince came back from New York. Okay, so this is the first encounter between Qing and the Dragon Prince. Okay, and more things happened from August 1970 to February 1971, because the gay community was expelled from the new park after the police shakedown. Because we know that at that time there is a curfew in New Park. So if you stay in New Park at night, you will be seen as wanderers by the police. So you will be arrested by the police. And we also know Ashong, one of the gay character in this story, attacked heterosexual lovers. So this is the reason, one of the reasons why the police initiated a shutdown of New Park. And we also see the grand opening of Kazi Nest. That is the main location of all these events in book 3 and in book 3 of this novel. And after a very good business, the bar was forced to be closed after the coverage of Shanghai Evening News. Because we know that at that time, Taiwan is still very traditional and conservative. So if this kind of gay bar is covered by the press, they had no other choice but to close the gay bar. And after the coverage and the close down of the gay bar, Papa Fu died. And we know that Little J arrived Japan on around December 20th, 1970. So we know that in the end of the story, we see the death of one character, that is Papa Fu. But we also see the rebirth of several other figures. For example, we know that Qing, he started his new life in another part of Taipei. And Wu Ming, he had a chance to get together with his old lover, Mr. Zhang again. And the little J finally had a chance to go to Japan. Although there's a little chance for him to find his biological father, but anyway, it's a starting point of his the so-called Sakura Jin, right? And we also see other figures, characters had a new life. Okay, and on Chinese New Year's Eve of 1971, Qing met Wang Kuilong and Luo Ping, a teenage homeless. He took Luo Ping back to his lodging in Dragon Cave. Okay, so this is a chronicle of Crystal Boys, and I think this is very important. Okay, I have marked these locations with numbers. So when I mention this numbers on the slides, you can check the map, and you know where the locations are in Taipei, whether they are in west or in the eastern part of Taipei, or northern part or southern part of Taipei, and even in the suburban parts of Taipei. Okay, but the next slide is more about not the interior structure of a city, but about the exterior structure of a city. Because from the structural perspective, like I say in the introductory lecture, the city itself is not only related to the suburban parts of for example, Taipei. It's not only related to the suburban parts of Taipei. So, for example, Taipei is not only related to New Taipei City, and it's not only related to the countryside. For example, Hsinchu and Taoyuan and the other parts of Taiwan. It's also related to other international cities in the world. Okay, so this is one very important thing in this semester for our course. And in this novel, we see Bai Xianyong as a very accurate observer of this kind of exterior structure of international cities, or the international nature of cities. So one way or another, the city is related to other cities. Okay, so for example, in this novel, we can observe a similar structure of all these cities mentioned here. The first one is Taipei, and the second one is New York, and the third one is Tokyo, right? Because in Taipei, we had the New Park, and we had Cozy Nest, a gay bar on lane 125, Nanking East Road, okay? And in New York, we had the Central Park, which is maybe dozens of times bigger than New Park in Taipei. But anyway, it's a park, it's a very important park. And we also see there's many gay bars in New York, and especially the gay bar where Wang Kuilong worked as a bartender in New York. That is a place named Happy Valley, and it was on 72nd Street, Manhattan. So maybe, I think, according to my own memory, this place, 72nd Street, Manhattan, is the place where Bai Xianyong first started to live in New York before he went to Iowa to get his master's degree in creative writing, because many of his brothers and sisters live there. Okay, so he's very familiar with Manhattan, and we also know that there's a lot of very rich mainlanders. They did not flee to Taiwan; they fled directly to the United States. So they were able to live in expensive places like Manhattan in New York. Okay, and in the letters written by Little J to Qing, that is the latest cover in book 4 of this novel, we see that Tokyo is a place described by Little J as a very as a place with a very progressive homosexual culture, and a place where everybody is seems to be very rich. Okay, but in the place like Tokyo, there's also a similar structure. For example, we have a very important park where there are many gay characters gathered. That is Joey. This is the Imperial Garden of the city in the older days. And we also see Polonia Chamber in Kabukicho, Shinjuku, and this is a place where described by Little J as there are many progressive homosexual Japanese. They were there, and they don't care about other people. They were very progressive in their own homosexual culture. Okay, so we can see the similarities, the exterior structure of the city. Okay, but we also have to pay attention to the differences among these three cities. For example, in this passage, we can see the neighborhood of Cozy Nest is described as a highly commercialized place in Taipei, and it's quite different from the description of the New Park in book 1 and book 2. Maybe at that time, Bai Xianyong started to see a Taipei which is greatly different from the Taipei in the previous periods of time. For example, this neighborhood of Cozy Nest is described by the author as a hustle and bustle place filled with nightlife and neon light. According to the description, there were mainly taverns and restaurants on lane 125 of the Nanking East Road. Phoenix City, a Cantonese restaurant, was located at the entrance to the lane. Next door was Plum Garden, a Japanese restaurant with dark red pepper lanterns as big as watermelons hanging above the doorway. Next came a Korean barbecue called Alilang, which was directly opposite the Golden Angel, a Western restaurant. Okay, so the description of this place, this neighborhood in Taipei, in the East District of Taipei, is quite different from all those places described in book 1 and book 2 in the West District of Taipei. Okay, so you can see the difference here. in somewhere in book 3, Wang Kuilong told Ah Qing that he used to be a bartender in the gay bar named Happy Valley. And what is the difference between the quality of New York and Taipei? I think maybe New York is described as a place which is much more dangerous than Taipei, and it has a problem of law and order, especially in their homosexual culture. For example, according to Wang Kuilong, he said that the place was well known, but it was a dive. Dive. What is dive? Dive is a low-class tavern or nightclub. Okay, we had black customers, Puerto Ricans, and every imaginable kind of white person. There were a few Asians, not many, because maybe that's one part of their homosexual culture. Because maybe Asians in the United States at that time, they were more conservative and they live a low-profile life, so they were not able to join the gay community, and they were not able to be accepted by the white gay community at that time. Okay, so Ah Qing asked Wang Kuilong, "Are there bars like ours in America?" And Ah Qing said that, "I knew there were a lot in Tokyo. Little J had told me that." Okay, and Wang Kuilong said that, "Lots and lots of them, more than you can count." Wang Kuilong left and sighed. "I'll bet there are nearly 100 in New York alone." Okay, so this is one difference between Taipei and New York. Okay, and Wang Kuilong continued. "Some are pretty fancy, where the rich and famous go." So this is one thing about the homosexual culture, because they are not from the lower end of the society, but there are some people who are from the higher end of the society. For example, in Cosinet, the customers, maybe they were teachers, lawyers, doctors, and movie stars, right? And there were still many rich and famous people. Okay, so doctors, lawyers in their suits and ties. Some are near colleges where students hang out. So there are college students like in Cosinet. Then there are some strange bars where the customers all wear leather jackets and ride motorcycles. This is this kind of bar gathered by death angels. They are called S&M bars. Okay. But Happy Valley, this is another difference between Taipei and New York. Wang Kuilong said that Happy Valley was kind of special. Most of the customers were drifters, and a lot of them were runaway kids. For them, Happy Valley was a place that offered them temporary shelter. Most of the kids were drug addicts or had VD. VD means venereal disease. Okay, and in the letter written by Little J to Ah Qing, Tokyo is described differently. Okay, Little J said that Tokyo can really get you excited and confuse you and scare the wits out of you. I walked around the Ginza yesterday, and there were so many cars and people and tall buildings. I felt like jumping in the air and shouting. The Ginzas like our Westgate, but it's I think this is a habit of a human being, because when you go to a place which is quite different from your original hometown or country, maybe something you do is you have to make a comparison between these two different places. Maybe you have to find something similar between these two places in order to live more comfortably in a new place. Okay, so I think this is something quite natural. Okay, so the Ginzas like our Westgate, because we know that a lot of locations, a lot of places appear in the Westgate district in Taipei, but it's 100 times bigger. And as far as style is concerned, there's no comparison. The Japanese are all rich, they dress great, and everybody has a car. Talk about luxury, I love it. There are huge department stores all over the place. Okay, and Ah Qing, not Ah Qing, Little J also mentioned that the the room rates in Tokyo is 100 times 100 times higher than Taipei. Okay, so this is the way little J tried to describe Tokyo. Okay, and little J continuing to say that they say there are hundreds of coordinates in Tokyo. So this is another difference between Taipei and Tokyo. 12 in Shinjuku, Kabuki-cho alone. Okay, and Tokyo's birth of use are really something. According to little J, the homosexuals in Japan, they are more daring than those in Taipei. Okay, they flee up and down the street without worrying about the police. In the bars, they dance with each other and kiss anything they feel like. Okay, so this is quite different in Taipei, because in Taipei we see all these homosexual characters in Crystal Boys. They had to hide themselves in a little bar named Cozy Nest. But after the Cozy Nest was covered by the newspaper, it has to be closed down. Okay, and there's a new park in Shinjuku too called Yogen. It's at least 10 times bigger than in the new park, and the birds of youth that hang out there play a lot of wilder game of hide and seek than we do. Okay, I think compared to these Japanese birds, we are really goodies. Okay, so something very interesting. And the Polonia chamber is 2 or 3 times as big as the Cozy Nest. And the lighting is all avant-garde. It's packed on the weekends when they have dancing. But I think this is something very interesting, because we know that after the Second World War, Japan used to be a very economically defeated country. But after 20 years of hard working and working in a very innovative way, Japan tried to become industrialized country in the world, and they succeeded. Okay, so they are very maybe they were very rich at that time, and but we know that the historical background of this story is in the 1970s. So we know there's the energy crisis and oil crisis at that time. So many of the industrialized countries like the United States, the UK, and Japan, they suffer from economic decline. But anyway, at that time, Japan tried to innovate. For example, they can produce cars which uses much less gasoline, right? So they try to keep the standard of economy and industrialization before the oil crisis. And but there is the time where Taipei is trying to keep up himself with the countries like the United States and Japan. So we started to see places like the Eastern District. There are highly commercialized places in Taipei. Okay, so this is something that we have to understand before we can understand the text in Crystal Boys. Okay, so this is the exterior structure of the book 3 and book 4 in Taipei in Crystal Boys. Okay, and another difference is it's about the interior structure of Taipei, because another difference, this is something very important for Bai Xianyong, because he observed this kind of difference between the West District and the East District through the eye of a master artist, one of the minor characters in this novel, the master artist. Okay, so in New Park, where is a place which is located in the West District of Taipei, we see more things about art and life, according to this master artist. So New Park is an older part in Taipei, but coziness in a newer part in Taipei, and it's a more commercialized place. So according to the master artist, he said he missed our old home, missed the lotus palm that had been picked bare of flowers, missed the intertwining branches of the green coral trees, missed those shining luster-filled eyes like fireflies darting back and forth in the darkness. Okay, because this is the origin of artistic inspiration of the master artist. The master artist said that our old nest has a primitive quality, that it was filled with wild, raw life forces, that it was a mysterious, frightening underworld that made your soul take flight. For him, only our dark kingdom was stimulating enough. Our new man-made nest was too common, too peaceful. He didn't like it. The gentle music, the soft lights, the clinking glasses, the new faces. He was critical of the college students, finding them spoiled, shallow, and full of themselves. What he longed for were the wild kids who fled to the park from Huaxi Street. This is in the West Street in Taipei. From Sanchong City. This is in the suburban part of Taipei. And from the stormy fishing port of Hengchun. This is from the southern part of Taiwan. And they were the true source of his art. Okay, I think the character of the master artist is a very interesting character, because from the passage we quoted here, we know that he used to stay in cities like Paris and New York, and in the end of his journey in the West, he found that his only source of inspiration, artistic inspiration, is from Taipei, not from other places. In a specific place in Taipei, that is the New Park, and he gained his inspiration from all these boys, all these wanderer boys from a lot of places in Taiwan, and I think this, in a sense, is much like Bai Xianyong himself, because we know that Bai Xianyong writes mostly about Taipei. Okay, so it's just like the master artist. And another mysterious structure of Taipei city is how it was influenced by the United States during the earliest part of the post-war period in Taiwan. Okay, so maybe I had mentioned this a little bit in previous weeks, but we can renew this very quickly. First of all, we know that in 1950 there's a Korean War, and the United States government started to give US aid to Taiwan, and use this as the background and the support for Taiwan to build a base for fighting back to mainland China. But anyway, the plan never worked out. And so during this period, from 1950 to 1965, is a very important period in Taiwan. So this is the economic basis for Taiwan's, for all this infrastructure construction in Taiwan. And from 1963 to 1973, there is an American involvement with the Vietnamese War. Okay, so we know that Taiwan is used as a base for military support of that war. But after 1968, we know that there's a policy of Vietnamization. So many of the American troops started to pull out of Vietnam, and until the end of the war in 1973. Okay, so from 1965 to 1971, 400,000 American soldiers spent their vacations in Taiwan. So at that time, Taiwan had become a place for those American GIs as a place of their rest and recreation. Okay, so during the period we have many works, mostly written by Taiwan's nativist realist writers about the problems created by this kind of American influence. The first one is the June Roses. It's published in 1967 by Chen Yingzhen. We're going to read two stories written by Chen Yingzhen next week. But June Roses is another story which is dealing with the problem of American influence in Taiwan. In June Roses, we see the love story between an African American soldier named Barney and a bar girl in Taiwan. It's a very tragic love story. We see how these American soldiers were influenced mentally and physically in the war. And Young Widow is another story we want to read, and this is one of the representative stories written by Huang Chunming. It also deals with the problem of American influence, because in Young Widow we know this is the name of the American bar in Taipei, located at the intersection of Zhongshan North Road or Sanyashen North Road and Jinzhou Street. Okay, so this is the story we are going to read 3 weeks from now. And we also see Japanese influences on Taiwan. Last time I had mentioned that because we know little J started to work at the pharmaceutical company named Seijo Company. Okay, but Japanese influence on Taiwan is more than that, because we know from 1895 to 1945, after the signing of the Treaty of Shimonoseki, which is a result of the first Sino-Japanese War, because first Sino-Japanese War is broke out due to the power of control over Korea, and China lost the war. So Japan demanded China to give Taiwan to Japan. Okay, so Taiwan became a colony of Japan during this period of 15 years. But after 1945, the Japanese were deported back to Japan. But in crystal balls, we see its control over Taiwan reappear in the form of economic control, because at that time we see many international corporates from Japan, including the Seijo Pharmaceutical Company on Songjiang Street. Of course, this is fictional, but this is one social and economic phenomenon noticed by Bai Xianyong. So we also know that it had at least one factory in Taoyuan County. So it's a suburban area of Taipei. So what is this kind of international investment? How is this kind of international investment influence Taiwan? So I think this is very easy to understand, because the job vacancies in both the company and factory would definitely, this is a theme dealt with more extensively by the nativist realist writers such as Yang Qingchu, Chen Yingzhen, and Huang Chunming. But in this novel we can imagine the problem, because this kind of company and factory would generally require human resources for the southern part of Taiwan, because we know that Taiwan is basically an agricultural society before industrialization in the 1970s, right? So many of the human resources are needed if you want to make this kind of agricultural society stable. But after the international corporate came to Taiwan to invest a lot of money, this kind of social economic structure changed. Okay, so it kind of endangering the traditional agricultural development. Okay, so this is another problem which is not mentioned by Bai Xianyong, but we can think about that. Okay, and it's a literal technique used by Bai Xianyong. He used music as a literary element which can remind us the American influence in Taiwan, especially in Taipei. For example, jazz is a kind of a most popular form of one of the most popular forms of American music in the world. Jazz can be heard in bars in Jinzhou Street. And Jinzhou Street is because we know that Little Jade and Qing share a room in Jinzhou Street, share in the room in the home of cousin of Little Jade in Jinzhou Street. And we also hear the songs by Beatles and Tom Jones in Barbarian Coffee Shop in the West District. Okay, but if you ask me that how Beatles is a British band, but don't forget they came to America, and after that they became famous globally, right? Okay, so I think this is kind of a form of American culture in Taiwan. And another example of this is Qing's lover, Mr. Yu. He's a teacher, and he lives on Shenzhen South Road. He turns on the radio to listen to the broadcast of a U.S. military station, which is known as ICRT right now, after 1979, because at that time, all of the United States, all of the units of the United States pull out of Taiwan, so they have to change the name of this station as the ICRT, International Community Radio Taipei. And if you are interested in this station, you can turn on to FM 100.7 to listen to the music and all the shows provided by this station. It's an English station in Taipei. And we also see there's a hybrid baby, little Johnny. He's a son of Little Jade's cousin. Okay, so we see all these forms of influence of American influence in Taipei. And another thing in this, which is very important in this novel, is the urban and suburban division. Because there's many places mentioned in this novel. For example, the township of Sanchong or Sanchong City. This is if you have the map with you, you can check number one. The location number one is Sanchong City. It's across the Tanshui River from Taipei City. Okay, and we also see this is a place where Little Jade's mother lived right now, and it's a place where Qing's mother started to work as a dancer 10 years ago after she left the family, right? Okay, so it also in a passage in book 2, chapter 7, we see Qing's encounter with Zhao Ying, and in the chapter we see a depiction of Sanchong City. The sky above Sanchong City on the other side of the river was black with the smoke of burning coal, blurring the rooftops and give the place the appearance of a huge, filthy dump. So basically, because we know many of the factories in suburban area of Taipei was set up in Sanchong, so it affects the environment of Sanchong. But in another passage, we see Sanchong is depicted as a traditional town filled with life, because we know there's a scene where Qing was taken back to Sanchong by Little Jade to visit her Little Jade's mother, and there's the event of local feast that is in Chinese we call Bai Bai, very important religious event in Taiwan. Okay, so according to this passage. This is, of course, this is the narration of Qing. By a little after 6 in the evening, the streets and the lanes of Sanchong City were crowded with people from all over, converging on the local feast. This local feast is Bai Bai. Okay, Because in more traditional parts of Taiwan, there's a lot of ceremonies like this. First, they worship, they have ceremonies, worship gods or ghosts, and later on, after the ceremonies were ended, their local people will have a feast, and the people around the neighborhood gather together to eat a lot of things. Okay, so we can see how it is described in this passage. The host families carry the food and the drink outside under the arcades. Up and down the lanes, table after table piled high with slabs of fatty pork, quivering on their plates, like so many mouths of meat. The crisp, brown skin glistening with oil, like it was sweating in the heat. Several hundred catty boards spread out contentedly on the sacrificial rack. Most of the food had been prepared the day before and was now being laid out on the tables. Platter after platter of food giving off meaty smells that blended with the heavy smoke of the incense candles. Not a breath of wind in the air. The black pall of smoke that hung over Sanchong city pressed down, covering the people's sweaty faces with a fine layer of soot. But that didn't affect their appetites. They ate with gusto, and the guzzled glass after glass of wine. Jubilation reigned. So this is the description. So in this passage, we see Sanchong is described as a place which is more traditional, and the way of life is completely different from the way of life in Taipei. Okay, so I think maybe from this passage you can sense this kind of difference between the urban place and the suburban place in Crystal Boys. Okay, so this is one scene from one of the Bai Bai feast. This is another scene. Okay, and sometimes after the ceremony is over, there will be theatrical performances after the ceremony. Okay, so this is a traditional style Taiwanese theater performance. Okay, and another place mentioned in this novel is the township of Zhonghe. Because we know that Ozhou is sugar daddy. He used to be the sugar daddy of Little Jade. He's a dye shop owner. He owned a dye shop in Zhonghe, the township of Zhonghe or Zhonghe city. And we also see the place where Felix Boy was raised is the Catholic Divine Light Orphanage. It is also in Zhonghe. Okay, and we also see Taoyuan County, and this is a pharmaceutical plant, the place of a pharmaceutical plant of Seichou Company. You also see Ching's grandmother live in Longtan Township. Okay, and of course we can say that because we know that Wuming was from Kaohsiung, and there are other places mentioned in this novel. But of course, from the perspective of urban-suburban division, we can say these are the places. These are the most important places in Crystal Boys. Okay, and another is interior structure. Another point in this novel is the interior structure of Taipei. We talk about the exterior structure of Taipei. The Taipei's relationship with New York and Tokyo. Taipei's relationship with Sanchong, Zhonghe, and Taoyuan, and other places in Taiwan. And we also see last week we have mentioned the division between east and the west of Taipei. So maybe all of the slums depicted in this novel are located in west district of Taipei, or most of them. But one exception is Ching's family. The location of Ching's family's residence, because Ching's family lived in the military compound on Longjiang Street. So if you have the map with you on your hand, you can check that this number 6. and it is located in the northern part of this map. Okay, in the northern and middle part of this map. And Qing's mother lived in the old two-story cement building on Kenan Street, and it was known as the this street is no longer Kenan Street, it's known as Guoxin Road right now. So you can see this is near the old airport in Taipei. So you can check it. It's on the southern part in this map, not very far from the river, right? So it's 19, number 19. Okay. So you can see it's also not very far from 22, which is the location of NTU. Okay. And the neighborhood around Dragon Mountain Temple, Longshan Temple, is 22, because we know there's a MRT station not very far from this temple. It's 22. Okay. There's Longshan Temple's MRT station. Okay, and this is the part in Taipei which is portrayed in this novel by a picture, not picture, by a portrait drawn by the artist, the master artist. It's the title of this portrait is Call of Wildness. Okay, so from the description we can know a little bit about this place. Basically, this place is the area around Huaxi Street, and the Huaxi Street used to be a place where the brothels and the night markets gather in Taipei, in the western district of Taipei. Okay, so from the description, from this passage quoted from Crystal Boys, it was a huge oil portrait, 3 feet wide by 6 feet high, whose background was hazy ghetto district. It was a ghetto district, which is a slum district, complete with canopy stores, crisscrossing lanes, and the temple with the upturned east. But of course, the west district right now is completely different from the west district 40 years ago, because 1970 is 43 years ago. So after urban renovation, it's completely different. But this description fits very well with the situation at that time. Okay, so it looked like the Dragon Mountain Temple district around Huaxi Street at dusk. The temple's eaves bathed in the blood red sunset that turned the filthy houses and lands deep red. The filthy houses. So it was described as a neighborhood where many of the slum houses gathered. Okay, so this is Longshan Temple. This is one of the most famous temple in Taipei, and it has a history of almost 300 years. Okay, so if you are interested, you can go there by taking an MRT and go to the MRT station of Longshan Temple. It's not very far from the station. Okay, and we see two words in Taipei described in Crystal Boys. One word is the word living. There are many people live in the world, which is West District, and the East District is for the heads to live. Like of course, they are the rich people in this novel. For example, last week we have mentioned Lord Shen. He's the chairman of the film company, and he had a 2-story mansion on the 8 Virtues Road. And 8 Virtues Road is one of the earliest part of the East District. And we also see Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang has an apartment in Guangwu Villa or Guangwu Village on Dunhua South Road, and it's 8 Virtues Road is on number 8. It's not very far from. It's not very far from the middle part of this map, and we have the location on Dunhua South Road is on the maybe it's the southeast side of this map. Okay, and we also see Mr. Yu's 3rd-story apartment on Xinsheng South Road. land 145. It's not very far from the location of NTU, right? It's just north of NTU and 22, so it's 15. And we also see Grandpa Guo's youth photo studio on section 2 Changchun Road. It's number 7 on the map. Okay. And last time I had mentioned because we know that Nanking used to be the capital of China, of course, Republic of China. So Bai Xianyong's family lived at the 127 Songjiang Road. It's not very far from the intersection of Songjiang Road and Nanking East Road. So we see Papa Fu, he lived in the house at the intersection of Songjiang Road and Nanking East Road. It's located in number 11 on the map. And we also see General Wang Shangde or Wang Kuilong had a house in section 3 of Nanking East Road. It's located in number 12 on the map. Okay, so these are the important places in the novel. And there are still more places which are the places of residence for the have-nots in this novel. For example, the Yaotai Hotel in Yuanhuan is number 5. It's in the northern part of this map. Okay, and we also see the China Bazaar last week is on Zhonghua Road. Of course, it's no longer here, right? It's no longer there right now. It's number 16. And we also see Jinhua Hotel on Sanjiasen North Road. This is the place where Qing and Wu Ming make sexual trade with the introduction of Chief Yang. And we also see Dragon Mountain Temple or Longshan Temple in location number 22. And these are the places in Westgate District or Ximending, because we know that West District is bigger than the Westgate District. Westgate District is a part of the West District. Together is on the neighborhood of Zhonghua Road. Okay, so it's Westgate District or Ximending from the Japanese days. First, we see the Barbarian Coffee Shop. Of course, it's no longer there right now on Ermei Street. And we also see Chief Yang's Cafe. He's the name with the name of Taoyuan Spring. It's on Taoyuan Street in the Westgate District. And Today Department Store. Before Little J took Qing back to Santong, he went to Today Department Store, a very famous department store at that time, to buy some cosmetics for his mother. And Southeast Department Store is also in this location, in this area, because we know that after Wu Ming's father returned to the society from prison, Wu Ming took his father to this department store and bought many things for him. Okay, and we also see the place where Qing worked as a waiter in a Silver Chariot. It's also in the Westgate District. And we also see the lodgings of Qing, first in Jinzhou Street, number 9 on the map, and second on is 21 on the map. That is the Dragon Cave. But this is in the northern part of Taipei. Okay, so if you can check this, if you can check the map, it's in the northern part of Taipei. Okay, although this is a novel with a very untraditional theme, which is the homosexual culture in Taiwan or in Taipei and in other countries, but I think one thing that we have to pay attention to is that Bai Xianyong tried to put this issue into a very traditional framework. That is, he tried to present all these homosexual problems in the concept, in the framework of the concept of traditional concept of a family. Okay, so you can see the clash between the homosexual culture and the traditional way of life for the Chinese society. Okay, and I think especially important is the movie directed by Anne Lee, is The Wedding Banquet. Wedding Banquet also deals greatly with father-son relationship. So if you are interested in Anne Lee's movies and the novels written by Bai Xinhong, please find a chance to watch the movie. It's a very interesting movie dealing greatly with father-son relationship. And it's especially important is that after the father found that actually his son is homosexual, he tried to treat the gay partner of his son as his own son. So this is something very unusual for a traditional Chinese father. When did homosexual culture begin to be unacceptable for the common people in China? I think maybe because the culture, the homosexual culture you talk about, it's maybe it's in the Qing dynasty or Ming dynasty. It's quite common, especially among the class of richer people. But I think it became unacceptable when China is start to get more and more westernized. I think from my own understanding is the case because, for example, during the ancient times, or especially in Ming dynasty and Qing dynasty, the theatrical performance, all the female characters were played by male actors. It's acceptable, and it's not acceptable for people to watch actress to play female characters in theatrical performance. But one thing very important is that many of the richer people in Chinese society, they like those actors to be their friends. They develop some kind of very close friendship with those actors. And like Zhang Suying has said, this is something very fun for them. Not necessarily is some kind of a special homosexual tendency. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's call it a day. And next time we're going to read the two stories written by Chen Yingzhen. Thank you.